So we begin with Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Now, if you are a regular viewer, you're probably sick of me mentioning this game, but I have to mention it because this is one of the best story-driven games I've played, single-player games, and the sequel is coming out very soon. So as a result, this game has been very cheap recently. 85% off is the usual low price for this one, but it has gone down to 90% as well once, just recently. So basically in this game, you play as Senua, who's a Celtic warrior, and she is trying to get into Viking hell to retrieve the soul of her lover. So very intense game, third person. The main appeal of this game is the voices that you hear. So this game is something you should play with headphones on because that increases the immersion of this game, and it's a very unusual game, very different game, and some of the sequences and boss fights are quite intense. So definitely something everyone should try, even if this is not something that you would usually play. Game is available everywhere on Steam as well as on GOG. Pick up wherever you want. Price is reasonable. Even on Steam, the regional pricing is decent. So 90% off is the lowest this has gone, which is about $3, but usually you'll see it at around 85%. Next, we have A Plague Tale: Innocence. So one of the more popular recent single-player games, and this is the sort of perfect AA game that you can sort of think of. Decent length, plenty of content, interesting story, interesting setting, characters are well developed, and great voice acting. Everything is just right with this sort of game. And as a result, it has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. Steam DB rating is 92%, and I have played this game multiple times. In fact, I have reviewed this game as well. I'll put a link to my video review on the other channel. But basically, you are following Amicia and her little brother during the Black Death and the 100 Years' War. So around 1350-ish, something like that. So the main antagonists in this game are the rats, plague rats, and also the Inquisition. So this is set in France, and it's basically the story of two children. So Amicia, who's a 14-year-old girl, and her brother Hugo, who's like 5 years old or something, and she has to protect her brother and survive this harsh environment as the Inquisition is looking for her brother. And of course, there are rats everywhere that are just eating everything. Later on, you meet a few other teens and other kids, basically. And it's just a very nice adventure feel to this game. So yeah, I would highly recommend you play this game. I think total you have 17 chapters. Chapter 17 is just the epilogue. And then you have 16 main chapters. Mostly you play as Amicia. So it's a stealth-based game. She's a 14-year-old girl, so you're not going to have like her take out big guards, even though she does in different ways. But it's mostly sneaking and stealth, distracting guards by throwing stones and things like that. The other mechanic is, of course, avoiding the rats, and you avoid the rats with fire. So you have to use fire to distract them and get them out of the way, things like that. So again, check this out. Very good game. Has been given away twice by Epic, and is usually very affordable. 80% off is the usual price, which is about $4. And once again, available on all platforms, whether you want it on Steam or even if you want it on GOG, it is available there, and DRM-free, of course. Again, $4 is what you pay, and I think for $4, it's a fantastic game. Now next, this game is a little bit of a difficult one to describe because I like it very much, but most people will not. So this is Greedfall. Now Greedfall is a character-driven RPG, basically, similar to some of the old BioWare games. This is a game made by Spiders, and Spiders has made some more games recently, most notably Steel Rising, but there is a little bit of jankiness in some of their games. I do like the way they present their games though. So I'm a big fan of the studio and the way they do the games. This is a game where, again, the combat is not well balanced in my opinion. So you should be playing this game for the story, the characters, the settings, the different factions, the interactions with the different groups of people that you meet, and just again the interesting setting. So this is in a sort of fictional new world setting, where there's an old continent which is diseased. People are dying there. There's some sort of affliction, and a lot of people are going to a new planet. Sorry, not planet, continent they have discovered, and that's where you are heading at the start of the game. Now you play as a diplomat. Basically, you represent the Merchants Guild, and there are different factions in this game. So there'll be the natives. There are a couple of other factions. One is a scientific one. One is more of a super religious one, let's say, and a few others here and there. But you have to sort of get along with everyone, or you end up fighting with one or the other. So there is a bit of that. And once you play the game, you have to try and do as many of the quests as you can with all the different factions if possible, because each of the side quests is very well connected to the main story. So if you skip some of the side quests, the outcomes will be very different. So I did play this, and I played all the side quests, and I got a mostly satisfying ending. Let's put it that way. I won't spoil it because you will get very different endings depending on how much you invest into the game. So yeah, overall, I thought this was fantastic. I had pre-ordered this game and I played it, like no-lifed it for the first week when it came out. I think I put in like 40 hours, and this was a good length for an RPG in my opinion. These days I don't play very long RPGs. I'm just scared of putting that much time. So this was just the right balance overall. But yeah, if you're going in for combat, maybe not the best choice. If you want an open world game, again, not the best choice. But if you want deep characters, interesting sort of political intrigue and things like that, you should like this. So again, this one is very affordable now. Was a $50 game at launch, but now it goes down to 80% off. Currently is on sale for the base game, which is $7, $319 in India. There's also a gold edition, which is $10 and $474 in India. So I think excellent game. Like I said, if you try and do everything, you'll be looking at around 40 hours. So I think for 40 hours, this is great value. Our next game is Metro 2033 Redux, or you could consider the whole franchise if you will. I often mention this one because the first one is my favorite. And this is a story-driven FPS game, post-apocalyptic, based on the novels of the same name, I think 2033. And yeah, this is the Redux version, which is a slightly more improved version. The original one had some performance issues, but they have removed that from Steam, and now you get this version. Very similar, just more optimized. Very atmospheric. So you are living in the Moscow subways because of radiation and other things outside. And you play as, I forgot the name of the guy, Artyom, I think. And you have to venture out and, find things and figure out what happened to people and things like that. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail, and also I've forgotten a lot of it since I played it a while ago. But yeah, there are some moments where you go outside the subway, but a lot of it is also inside. And yeah, I mean, very atmospheric, very intense, enjoyable if you like FPS games. So I would highly recommend this game. It's been available and frequently on sale, given away a lot of time. So I would be surprised if you don't have it, if you've been following gaming for the last few years. But if you haven't, 90% off is the sale price. Usually goes to 90%, which is about $2, I think, and 150 in India. And this is after a regional price increase. So at 150, it's not bad even with an increase. But yeah, make sure to get it at 90% more if possible, and available everywhere, Steam and GOG. So yeah, there's also a bundle available. The second game is also pretty good, but again, my favorite is the first one. The third one is more recent. It's more of a AAA game, in my opinion, but you can get the whole bundle for less than $10. Next is a game called Remember Me, which is maybe a little ironic because everybody seems to have forgotten. This is a game made by Don't Not Entertainment, people behind the Life is Strange game, or Vampire, or the recent Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. And again, this is a game I only played recently. By recently, I mean early last year. I played it and made a review on the other channel, and I was generally very impressed by this game. The story is excellent, and it's a cyberpunk game set in Paris in 2084, something like that. You play as Nilan, who is a memory hunter, I think, or a memory mixer, I can't remember. But basically, she has the ability to go into people's minds and change their memories a little bit, so they don't remember things as they exactly happened. And at the start of the game, something has happened and her memory is being wiped, but she still remembers who she is. And slowly, during the course of the game, she starts remembering more about herself and the world and some of the wrong things that have been happening. And yeah, it's again a very interesting game. Once again, this is one of those games where um, I felt the combat was secondary compared to the story. I really got into the story and I wanted to experience more of that, and the combat felt a little like in the way. They did try to have like a lot of different combos and things like that, but it did not have like a enemy locking thing, which made it difficult for someone like me. And I just used the basic combos and just got rid of the enemies whenever we had a fight. But overall, the story was excellent. It should take you around 8 to 10 hours to finish this game. Like I said, I did not spend too much time trying to learn the combos. Otherwise, I might have been able to do it a bit faster. But yeah, 7, 8, 10 roughly is what you should expect. The game is frequently on sale. Once again, regional price is okay. 80% off is the sale price that you should expect. This is a Capcom published game, by the way. And this is only available on Steam, and it is currently on sale as well. So 80% off, $6, $3.59 in India. This is the usual price, $4.59 in the UK and $5.99 in Canada. Now next is another RPG and another game by Spiders, the people behind Greedfall. And for me, this one was actually maybe even more enjoyable than Greedfall in some ways. So this is again a character-driven RPG, story-driven. You play as a Technomancer. So these are people who have electrical abilities in their body. They can discharge electricity. And this is set on Mars, like 200-300 years into the future. People have moved from Earth and they've settled there. And some of these people have mutated with these abilities, these electrical abilities, and have become Technomancers. So these Technomancers have their own group. They guard their secrets, and they have like high-ranking people who teach some of the others how to use their powers and things like that. So once again, this is a game where I found the combat difficulty to be very unbalanced. On easy, it's quite easy, it gets repetitive, but even on normal difficulty, it's so hard that at the start you'll just get killed by random mobs basically. The other thing that some of these games suffer from is repeated environments. So you'll be passing through a few areas multiple times, like not just 2 or 3 times, like 20 times, because those are the same paths you have to go, talk to this person, talk to that person, and you end up going over the same places over and over and over. And the enemies keep respawning, so there'll be the same 3 types of bug type creatures that you have to fight every time. And that gets boring. So I tend to play these games for the story, and the characters and the choices and the side quests, those are very, very interesting. So I would recommend you play something like this on the easier difficulties, just to enjoy the story and the RPG elements, because the combat isn't the most satisfying. It is quite detailed here, no, don't get me wrong. There are 3 or 4 different types of skill trees and how you can use them. You can be like a close range guy, you can be different. But yeah, overall, it just felt like the difficulty wasn't balanced. Your companions are completely useless. But this game is very, very cheap now. During sales, you can get it for $2. So I described this as the best $2 RPG in my review video. And yeah, I would stand by that. Very, very cheap during sales. I think this might be on sale right now. Yes, it is. This is 80% off right now for $2.99, $179 in the UK. So yeah, if you don't mind not having the best combat, you can have a look at this one. Next is Enslaved Odyssey to the West Premium Edition. So this is a post-apocalyptic action-adventure game. This is made by Ninja Theory, the people behind the later Hellblade games. And yeah, when I played this, I really enjoyed this. This is a third-person action-adventure game. Originally was 360 and PS3 exclusive, came to PC a few years later. I really did not know much about it and ended up really liking it. So you play as a monkey, who is, again, by the way, this is very, very loosely based on that novel of the same name, Odyssey to the West. So you play as Monkey, just a normal guy. He's just called Monkey for some reason. And at the start of the story, the two characters are being held prisoner and taken somewhere on a ship. You and this girl called Trip survive, escape, and then together you have to go through this journey of trying to find out what's happening and take down these mechs along the way. Again, a decent length game, 8 to 10 hours roughly. Good action as well. I think it has multiple difficulty settings. I can't remember now. I played it like a good 10 years ago, I think. I did play it once more after that. But yeah, so you fight with a giant staff that your guy has. The other things are environmental puzzles. So you have to open doors and unlock areas and things like that. And you can use some help from Trip, who has some abilities, computer skills, let's say. So yeah, that sort of thing. And yeah, overall very enjoyable. A few boss fights, a few sequences where you have to run from big giant mech monsters. And yeah, overall was a very, very fun game. And again, these days it's very cheap. One or two areas are a bit buggy, keep that in mind, because this is like from a while ago where there weren't many patches and stuff, so occasionally you may sort of fall through the map or something. So anyway, this game is frequently on sale, and 85% is the usual price, like the discount price. So again, not too bad, but occasionally it can go even more. So you could pay $4.99 usually when it's 75% off, sometimes $3.99, and maybe even more during some of the bigger sales. So yeah, this is only available on Steam as far as I'm aware. Now, next up, we have a fairly big game. I don't know if I could call this a AAA game because I don't know if this was a $60 game at launch, but this is easily one of those games that you can recommend to anyone and they'll end up liking it. And this is, of course, Portal 2. So there was a bit of hype when this first came out. I actually remember seeing people talk about this on TV as well when it first came out. And this was one of those games where when you did end up playing it, it was just as good as everyone was saying it is. I really enjoyed this. I had not played the original Portal game. I had played this first. And yeah, I really ended up liking it, so much so that when I was done with the single player campaign, I wanted to have someone to play the co-op campaign as well. So yeah, you use puzzles, you use two types of portals. There's a funny story around it as well. And it's just a very enjoyable game. It's mostly a puzzle game, first-person puzzle game with comedy elements, let's put it that way. And one of the best games ever made, in my opinion. And this is a Valve game, Steam game. They put it on sale every time there's a big sale, and they're very generous with the sales as well. So minimum 80%, maybe even 90%. So you're looking at $1, maybe $2. That's it. And it's well worth it. You'll play this multiple times. Great replay value. And yeah, it's a very good game. There was also a new mod, I think, that came out very recently. So you could even try those things. Yeah, just a very good game that everyone should enjoy. Next, we have Dishonored. And this is the first Dishonored game. Something I consider as probably the best new IP of the last decade in terms of gaming. And this came at a time where I think we were probably at a golden age of gaming. Every game coming out seemed to be amazing, because I remember this was something I did not know about when it came out. I was looking forward to Assassin's Creed 3, and that one wasn't as great as I was hoping for. And then I was playing Far Cry 3, and along the same period this also came out, and I was just surprised. I thought, wow, you're getting so many amazing games. So this had a very interesting setting. Now, I think this is a AAA game in my opinion. It's published by Bethesda and made by Arcane. But right now, it is so cheap that it's less than an indie game. Still looks pretty good. It's a stealth-based game. Supernatural elements. Steampunk? Was it dieselpunk? Something punk that people mention this. It's got a very interesting sort of, you could say, setting where people use whale oil and stuff like that, if that makes sense. A lot of things like that. The aesthetic is very interesting. And yeah, you are basically a supernatural sort of assassin, well, you are a human with supernatural abilities, let's put it that way. And you have to take revenge on some people, and you are flexible in how you do it. You can be very sneaky and stealthy, or you could just kill everything inside. There's also conveniently a rat plague. I don't remember why it was, but some sort of rat plague is there as well. And why are gamers and developers obsessed with plague and rats? I don't know. Anyway, so that is also present here, but the game is overwhelmingly positive on Steam, rightfully so in my opinion. Great looking game, still looks pretty good, and definitely something you can check out if you want a new, well-made game. So the base game is fantastic. You also have a couple of expansions, I think, for this one. I did not play the expansion, I just played the main game. And the game again is very regularly on sale, has been given away as well, free from Epic, I think. So 80% off is the usual price for the base game. At this point, you can just get the definitive version, which is also usually 80% off, 75, 80. So $3 to $4, less than $5 comfortably, and you'll have a great time if you end up liking the style and gameplay. And my final pick is another sort of mainstream AAA game, but again, very cheap these days. This is Titanfall 2. Now, even if you're not a fan of shooters, if you don't like FPS games, futuristic stuff, I'm pretty sure you'll end up liking this, because I have not played a better FPS game, again, as far as a campaign is concerned. I play a lot of Apex Legends, which is set in the same universe. It's more of a live service game, but a lot of the mechanics in Apex came from this game. It's made by the same people. But this was an amazing experience when I played it. I streamed it for the first time in late 2017, 2018, something like that. And yeah, a very, very enjoyable game. Initially wasn't available on Steam, but came to Steam later as EA brought their games. And they are very generous with the sales on this one as well. 85, 90% off usually. And they give you the Ultimate Edition. So 90% off, $3 is the usual price for this one, which is just fantastic. Now, keep in mind the campaign isn't particularly long, but it'll still be very, very satisfying. 4 to 5 hours expect around that time to finish the campaign. There is a multiplayer aspect here, but I've heard bad things about that. Like, the gameplay is good, but it's full of hackers, cheaters. I don't know what the latest is, but yeah, it's not great. I haven't played much recently, the multiplayer at least. But I love the single player. So I'm recommending this as a single player game, and it is one of the finest single player games I've played. So that is my final pick. I'll be trying to make some more videos like this before the sale, the spring sale, which starts on the 14th. And then during the sale, I'll do a bunch of videos as well. But yeah, I thought I'll have some big well-known games separated here in different lists, so people have an idea what to pick up during the sales.